we're golden. But let me bring my guy Nix in here. I know he said we're talking beforehand. He's not a big NCAA basketball. Doesn't do a bracket because it is self torture. Just like having 5 fantasy football teams, guys. We had a whole
Yeah.
conversation on this before we started tonight about having multiple teams. But speaking of torture, this is me and Rev have disagreed on Zeke Elliott from the very
Mm.
beginning when it was first mentioned. The season I think was still going on when we started arguing about this. That I was saying that he's going to get cut in the offseason. I was against him getting paid $20 million a year to do his thing. I don't hate Zeke Elliott, but
Right.
for as much as he was getting paid, I didn't like him on the team. Knicks, he got cut this week finally.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on the whole thing?
Yeah. I mean, out of the gate, for what it's worth, no matter who your favorite running back is of all time, doesn't matter. Zeke is the NFL leader in history of the guy fastest to 10,000 yards total, not rushing, but total. That's what he brought to the table. Obviously, the big thing for the Cowboys within that constraint is just simply he jumped the boat over Dak getting paid. Because they got drafted the same year, and it kind of set the temperament at times and how this team has worked with their salary cap and who they bring in and different things of that ilk. You go to the last 2 years in particular here with Zeke, playing on injuries. We know that for sure. The last few years with the knee or whatnot, still able to get up touchdowns, over 1,000 yards a year prior. This year, 12 touchdowns on the missed a couple games. But now you got to the point where the money doesn't match up, right? In a league that is now, and we see it in free agency right now, right? I mean, maybe the Cowboys even overextended Pollard with the tag, maybe looked at the market wrong as we're seeing these guys getting paid currently and where they're landing at. So it was a crossroad for Zeke in this organization. And you kind of look at what he was against the cap, and they basically had 2 options, in my opinion, and they took option 2. But option 1 was you could cut him pre June 1st, right? And you get about 4.85 million, but you still have another 5 dead, if you will. But now, what if you would take the pay cut, right? And if you take the pay cut, well, you still save the money, but you have the player on the roster, right? And if you wasn't going to be able to get that done, then it made sense to do the post June 1st cut, get it to 10.9 million, so that you basically clear the decks that way. You have your draft already paid for. If you need to do some more or be a little bit more flexible after the draft, you have money to do those things. And, I kind of go back to prior to the combine, his agent and his representation said, we're going to go to the combine to find out what his value is what they said. Combine came and went. They had a talk. The Cowboys were basically came to him with hey, it's going to be a reduced role, a quote unquote backup role. I guess his representation came out to the point of, well, there's things saying that he could still be a starter in this league. And at that point, it was a wash, post June 1st cut, and here we are.
So do you agree with that, or like where is you as a person, Nick?
Yeah,
Like,
I think it's right. Yeah, you had to land. Something had to be done, one way or the other. Either it had to be a little bit of a reduced role, if you will. I would love to have Zeke back on this team if he was able to come down to the 5 million mark. But then it also got in trouble there for me when we started talking about the cap and whatnot because you tagged Pollard, right? So now you're over 10 million on Pollard. Even if he comes down to 5 million, now you have a different issue because currently sitting where he was even before a change and with the Pollard tag, the highest in NFL history amount of salary cap percentage wise to the running back position with the
Ew.
Pollard tag and where Zeke was.
Right, and we're
So
gonna get to
at
the
the
Pollard
floor
tag
level,
tonight. Yeah.
right. And at the floor, even if he took the pay cut, you're still dropping about 15 million with those 2 guys at the running back room. So it was a crossroads in the way they wanted to build this team and team building 1-on-1. He just couldn't be here. I'm not campaigning. I'm not happy that he's gone. But he's got paid. I mean, he's the number 2 paid all-time running back. And I know Emmitt Smith jumped on Instagram and said some things about, hey, get your love, your pay. Look, Emmitt Smith's still a top 10 all-time paid running back. Okay.
Yeah.
Now
right.
Zeke's number 2 all time. From the love part, I mean, if you love me, pay me, right? Well, they've been paid well here in Dallas, so a little bit removed from that. But yeah, it was at the point where it couldn't work anymore. Now they could have let Paul walk; they made it work, but that wouldn't have been great team building in that stretch. So it was just time, unfortunately, and those things happen. And we saw it with Dez, we saw it with D. Ware, we saw it with Romo. At times, you just saw, hey, it lines up, and the time was to move on, and it's just one of those situations here with Zeke.
Go ahead, Rev. Let's hear your take on it. I'm super excited for it.
No, I mean, 100% agree with Nick's. You know what I'm saying? I mean, at the end of the day, the Cowboys organization is a business. You got to run it like a business. But you know that side of Jerry Jones that we do love as Cowboy fans, that we're just enthralled with, is that relationship side with the players. And if you're a genuine, real Cowboys fan, you know what I'm saying? You give your whole heart to this thing. You're attaching your entire heart to every single player, especially if they're drafted. You know what I'm saying? They come to this team, they're drafted. Zeke coming in number 4 pick, which that's a whole nother conversation on, you know, whether he deserved that or not. But let's be honest, you know, those first 3 years he coming in the league, man, you
World
loved
beater.
what he was bringing to the
Yep.
table. You know what I'm saying? We could have won a Super Bowl if we would have been able to figure that thing out. But you know, my heart extends out to Zeke. I hate to see him go. I'm playing taps on the radio once I see Jerry Jones's letter written out and just talking about him going, just because I'm just a big fan of him. And I think over the years, you know, he came in from Ohio State, and you're just kind of looking at him as a player, and he's young, maybe getting in a little bit of trouble and trying to figure out whether he's worth it or not. But he has been a complete pro, being a complete teammate to the team, a leader, and everything else. So you know, just all respect to Zeke Elliott. You know what I'm saying? I wish him the best. I want him to go to a team, and I tease Coach like this before, Knicks, but you know, it seems like the Cowboys let our players go, and they end up going to another team and going to the Super Bowl somehow. So I'm just waiting to see who's
Happen.
going to sign. You know, I'm just waiting to see who's going to sign Zeke right now. Is he going to get his money? I don't think so. I think everybody in the league's pretty much showing where his market is going to be. I think the smartest thing, and I shared this with Coach before, Nick's. I think the smartest thing for him would have been was to understand that role, take a pay cut, and you would have probably still been a 1B running back rather than now
Right.
going to a different team, and you're probably going to be the number 3, definitely a third down back or short yardage running back. And so, you know, I think it's just at that point now. I don't know if you guys remember this, but when Emmitt Smith left the Cowboys and went to the Cardinals, man, it just didn't taste right. You know,
Fact.
you hated to see him go, but you knew that was the best thing for the organization at the time. He got his money, you know, that second run there to the Super Bowl. If you remember, he sat down, didn't play at all. We went 0-2,
Over. Yeah.
and that first team to ever be 0-2 and still win the Super Bowl, and just realized how important Emmitt Smith was. But you know, it's kind of like that same scenario. You know what I'm saying? Hate to see him go, but it's just part of the business. You got an incredible draft of running backs, and then on the second hand, you know, there's some free agent running backs that are out there that we can still pick up.
You know,
Yeah.
the currently right now the odds on favorite is he's going to land with Buffalo. I don't know if y'all seen that circulating or not. So that's going to be interesting if he lands in
I didn't.
Buffalo.
They lost Singletary. And
Wow.
Singletary is one of the guys I've actually been talking with Rev about would be a nice fit with the Cowboys. So a trade straight up for Singletary, obviously on the free agent market would, you know, I'd be okay with our end of that. But you know, just to pile on to what you said, Rev, and I kind of tweeted this out, was that bad contracts kind of lead to where we're at right now. Like we gave Zeke a bad contract for the Cowboys, for the team. Probably cost us Amari Cooper. His contract did, and it just leads to I love Zeke Elliott, and it comes across that I despise him because of the contract was a lot more money than he was worth after he signed it, pretty much. Because you're right, those first 3 years, if we'd have got that guy to this day, we would have gladly paid him till next year. We'd have paid him out. We'd have signed him to another contract, all this stuff. But Knicks, I've got an outstanding theory on running backs that I am steadfast in. You do not ever, no matter how good he is, give a running back a second contract more than the minimum, or around the minimum. I'll say, like, if you're gonna give him $1 million or $2 million, that's fine. But you don't give like Derrick Henry Austin Eckler is the one up right now. I wouldn't give Austin Eckler. I wouldn't give Zeke Elliott. The only one in the league right now that's on a second contract that's actually performing to his contract's worth is Nick Chubb. Other guys that are getting paid a lot, Kamara for the Saints. I'm trying to remember the top guys off the top of my head. Zeke was one of them.
Of course,
Derrick Henry
and Christian McCaffrey, who got traded.
Christian McCaffrey,
Yeah.
right? And he it's possible that he lives up to his moving forward. Right. But like for a couple years there, he's down after he signed it, right? Or I guess it's been a year and a half since he signed it. Whatever.
Yeah, the injuries. I mean, he got hurt and he missed like 18 million games, and then he lands in San Francisco. Like, oh look, I'm healthy again.
Yeah,
super healthy. Yeah.
No more hamstring injuries. It's amazing.
Crazy how that works.
And I kind of think Christian McCaffrey, and I've kind of been building this in my head that these Tony Pollard, Christian McCaffrey types, if used the right way as more than just a running back, might be worth that second contract. I don't know that I'm willing to pay Christian McCaffrey what Christian McCaffrey's making, but they're on rookie quarterback contracts, so they can do that.
Yeah, Coach. I was going to say, Coach, because I think what we're having is the transition here of the running back position is it's almost like the NBA, right? Of positionless, basketball. You're kind of getting that to football a little bit, especially we talk about these running backs of, hey, we don't want to run you into the ground 30 times a game. Can we get you in space? Can we do these different things with you? And that extends them. And then once you get into that standpoint, that's why a part of me struggles with the Pollard tag, because to a certain extent, like, God, it's a running back. But then if I look at it from a weapon standpoint and the passing game and what he can bring, then I'm like, well, that changes the setting a little bit for what he's getting paid and what's going on there. But I think ultimately we're just in a transition period of the NFL game and how they're using these running backs and things are happening because, look, the Cowboys have poorly managed their load management here, if you will. And they talked about this during Murray, right? And they loaded Murray up there at the end, boy, didn't they? And they said, hey, Stephen Jones and said, hey, look, we have a certain analytics, certain amount of carries, and after that, it's proof is of the pudding here. Once they hit these amount of carries, it's all downhill from there. Now, they talked about that with Murray, but I'll be damned if they didn't do anything with Zeke. They just did the same thing again with him. So it's like, hey,
over and over.
You understand it, so let's get ahead of it and kind of figure it out. So, it's like the Derrick Henrys of the world and things like that is as I like to call it, as a long-term watcher of this game, it's a bygone era. It's kind of what it is when it comes to the running back. And if you want to spend capital on these guys, and look, right, Pacheco, or how do you say his last name, from Kansas City, 7th-round pick, you saw what he did for Kansas City Chiefs last year as a rookie. You just have to find ways of not just even regurgitating and doing it, because I'm with you, right? Hey, draft a guy, 4 years, rotate him out, get another guy in. But if you get a guy that's worthy, it can be a dynamic playmaker, even like a Debo, he's a wide receiver per se, but he runs the ball as well, right? So positionalist football, if you will. If you can do that, then you can get to a second contract that's not going to actually kill you, as you talked about the midline there. And that's just the smarter teams will figure that out. And the teams that are not smart enough, sometimes these Cowboys haven't figured it out.
Yeah, I like this year's draft for that type of running back too. There's several of them. There's the guy from Texas A&M, Gibbs is going to be early. He's probably a little earlier than we want to do, but he's definitely one of those. A-Train, yep. A-Chain, isn't that it?
A-Chain, yeah, A-Chain. Mm-hmm.
A-Chain, the guy from Kansas State. Oh no, TCU. That's what I'm thinking of.
Okay, yeah, you got Spears from Tulane as well. Yeah. So you got Mitchell out of Eastern Carolina, another one. So yeah, I mean, this draft, and this is the bad part here. Why it's probably to a certain extent why all of a sudden you heard, well, they might trade Mixon, they might trade Chubb, they might trade Derrick Henry, and
a lot of guys.
You're seeing all these guys getting low level contracts out here. I mean, my goodness, James Robinson got 2 years and like $8 million, right? And we're seeing these contracts with the running backs come in being very low. That's because this running back draft is the deepest one we've seen in a while. So people are like, hey, you can take this money, or we can just shoot over here and go grab a guy in the 3rd, 4th round and keep it pushing.
Yep. Yeah, I was. I've mentioned this to Rev, and I can't remember if I tweeted it out or we were texting or we were talking on Discord. Somewhere we were talking about this, and I saw Jamal Williams as a pretty good comparison to what Zeke can get out there. Same age, same usefulness as 3rd down back, short yardage back, good pass pro guys, and he got 3 for 12 So
Mhm.
$4 million a year over 3 years. I didn't see what the actual add up of it was. They might have loaded up the back year or something crazy. But 3 for 12 were the numbers, and I'm like, if Zeke could get that, I'd be thrilled if I were Zeke and got 3 for 12 right now. That was more than I thought either of them would get.
Yeah. Yeah, I think right now, what are we looking at? Sanders, I think he got the 24 million. I think that's the biggest one. I think that tops out right around maybe like 6 million a year if I remember the contract right. So yeah, I mean, these guys are just, and you look at the year the Sanders had, Pro Bowl year, the whole nine. It's just, man, again, the devaluing, if you will, of the running back position as we talk about the Bijan maybe coming here in the first round, Cowboys Nation or whatnot. But
where are you at on that? Hold on, Nix. Where are you at on that? Because Rev here, he's big on the running back in the first round.
Got you. Here's the thing. All first-round picks aren't built the same, right? So when you talk about the 4th pick or the 26th pick, it's a wild difference in just the value of the draft pick, right? And then number 2, currently I haven't finished my top 50 board. I'm getting close to the finish line right now. I got about 16, 17 first-round grades. And Bijan would happen to be one of those. I know the position is not rated that way. So if you're picking at 26 and the first-round grades are gone and Bijan's there, right, what do you do in that realm? I think the more important thing, or if we're talking about just strictly the Cowboys here and Bijan, I think here's probably the most important thing. How are you handling Pollard? Is Pollard going to be a Schultz one-and-done deal? If Pollard's a one-and-done deal, then Bijan has to be on the board for you because you take him, then we use coach's realm. All right, we're not going to pay Pollard. We're going to pay him this year. We're not going to pay him next year. We have another 3 to 4 years of Bijan cheap, and then we can move on and draft another guy. So I think in that standpoint, for the Cowboys are currently sitting, it depends how they build out the rest of this roster before we get to the draft. I think Bijan's a huge I'm not a huge guy for them to get, but I think it's a huge possibility for the Cowboys to land him, depending on the way that they've set this thing up.
Is he a positionless running back like you talked about? I don't see him as that. He's a solid pass catcher, solid. Not great.
He's better than Zeke in pass catching. He's better than Zeke in pass catching, but he's not Tony Pollard by any stretch, or Austin Eckler, if you will, or even a CMC, right? But again, when you look at what he does bring, in the idea that you're moving on from Pollard with Malik Davis in the building, so I'm going to run this year that way, and now Pollard leaves. Okay, well now I'm going to draft a guy later next year that's going to be Pollard-esque to put with him as they move forward. I think the Cowboys really need to probably look at. I ain't going to get too much in the draft. I'll be here all night talking about the draft, y'all. I'm not trying to hijack here. But I think there's other positions right now the Cowboys probably should look at 26. But I couldn't argue against it though. The way this thing's currently built right now on March 18th.
Yeah.
Rev, you want to weigh in? You want to defend your Bijan pick, or?
No, again, it's just a smart way to do it. The way I look at first round picks is if I'm gonna make that run on my first round pick, I want them starting on the field from day one. I feel the best. That's why this idea of picking a running back, well, then you better have a different plan on how you want to use Pollard, because I don't want my number 1 pick to be sitting on the bench, because Pollard's going to be the guy straight out the bat. Same thing goes, and we've talked about this again, and I don't know if we were going draft tonight or not, Coach, but this idea of taking a tight end in the first round pick, we love Michael Mayer. We love this idea that there's a tight end there. Problem is, you know what I'm saying? I don't want this tight end to come in and sit on the bench, because that's what he's going to do. I don't see any of these tight ends coming in and taking the spot either from Pendershot or Ferguson. And so this idea of taking a positional value, they better come in and start right off the bat. And that at the end of the day, if Bijan's that guy, if you're going to draft him 1, well, then Pollard better stay on the field and play some slot and motion them around and just use them, in every which way. And then I'm okay with that. I would much rather, even if you're going to move on from Pollard, I would much rather draft a running back a little bit later and groom him up for the following year, which, to be honest with you, I think that's what they're going to do anyway. We're going to get a running back within probably the first four rounds. Who are we going to get? I don't know who their pet cats are going to be, but I just know that in the end, they're grooming guys for the future, because if these contracts don't work out, and again, we've said this over and over, if these contracts don't work out, if you're not taking care of business and paying these guys at the right time, the market for, let's say, Pollard next year is going to be chaotic. Like there's going to be no chance for you to sign him next year because the value of a running back might be totally different. Right now, everybody can have a running back. It's like cotton candy or whatever else. Like come and get you a running back, and the value of them right now is pretty good. And so looking at Pollard, you're asking the question right now: do you remove the tag? Do you go ahead and sign him to a long-term deal? Is that the smarter way? Or do you just go ahead and hold the tag and say, hey, we're going to hang on to him one more year, maybe get a Super Bowl with him because we know how valuable he is, and then just draft for a future running back and move on? So I'm not really sure what the answer is, but I just know that Pollard is a different dude than any of these guys in the draft. I don't think you're signing him like you're going to sign a regular running back. And I don't think Pollard looks at himself as a regular running back. I think Pollard looks at himself and says, you're going to sign me like you would sign Deebo Samuel. That is my value. That's my competition. I'm not a regular running back that you're going to just stick back there and just run, in the A and B gap or the 1 and 2 hole. So, that's kind of where I'm at right there with the whole thing and drafting. I'd love to have Bijan, but again, if you're going to only do it the right way.
So let me ask you this,
right?
If with considering what we're talking about with this positionless football with Pollard and makes him more valuable than other running backs, and Bijan not necessarily being that kind of running back, I think we all agree that he's a running back, right? Mm-hmm. With better than average receiving ability, we'll say. Do you look at with that 26th pick? Then do you look for a running back that maybe is a Pollard replacement, right? Which I think, without looking at a list, and obviously my extreme Alabama bias playing into this, is Gibbs the guy you look at there instead? Gibbs is absolutely a wide receiver playing running back. If you guys watched him at all,
love Gibbs.
Ran a 4.3. He's a speed demon guy. Dominated in the SEC. I think he's more of that Pollard replacement than you said. So, Nix, you kind of said, are you drafting a Pollard replacement with the intention of letting Pollard go next year? Does Gibbs, and you said you got a top 50, I don't know if Gibbs is in it or not. Does Gibbs enter the equation at that point?
Well, of course, what I'm saying is if you draft a guy this year with the idea that Pollard's going to leave next year, I don't think it's a direct Pollard-esque guy this year. I think you draft a guy to complement Pollard this year. And if you're going to let him walk, then you find the Pollard replacement next year. Because, if we go in here and take a guy like Gibbs, now we're changing the offense a little bit, right? Because now on 3rd and 1, who you giving the ball to? Who's it going to be?
Right.
Yeah, is it Pollard? Is it Gibbs or Davis? Right. So I think
it better not be Pollard.
Right.
Stevenson from Buffalo.
It better not. I'm so tired, Nick. Real quick. Time out. I'm so tired of seeing it 3rd and 1 and giving Pollard the ball. Like, it's like, what are we doing? Go ahead, brother. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You're good. No, you're good. I understand the frustration on that. So I think, when we talk about in that realm, I think it kind of narrows down what the pool is of running backs at that point. Now, if they go out here and they sign a guy prior to the draft, now that changes things. But as it's currently constituted, so it's the Bijans, it's Trey McBride from UAB, it's Charbonnet from UCLA, it's Izzy's kind of a tweener, though, from Pitt. Maybe Eric Gray out of Oklahoma. So you're talking about a different running back that you need to put in here. Don Spears maybe as well from Tulane. But now when we're talking about the Gibbs of the world, A-Chains, or AKA A-Train even, of the world, the Keaton Mitchells, like you can't really use those guys with the hole that Zeke has left here that you put with Pollard, because you got to have a guy that can close the game, right? If you will, a little bit of that thunder with the lightning that Pollard brings you. So they have to kind of decide that. Now, again, they go sign a guy prior to the draft. Now it's all bets off. You can bring in whatever kind of style of running back that you want in here. But now the room's getting crowded because the Cowboys typically carry at most 3 running backs, right? So if you sign a guy and Pollard's on the tag and you got, Malik Davis here, and you draft a guy, well, somebody's getting squeezed at that point, and that's probably, I guess, Malik Davis per se, right? That would make the most sense. So it's an interesting way how they formed this. That's thought to me. I don't know. I don't think they're going to sign a guy before the draft. I don't know if they do. I think they'll go through the draft process, and if they get their guy, then they're good. If they don't get a guy, there's going to be a guy on the scrap heap out here they can bring in here and feel comfortable with. And there's a laundry list of running backs right now. So I don't think they're going to sign a running back prior to the draft. They'll go through the draft and see what happens. Then how they feel, they might add somebody to the room.
I like it. I like
Yeah,
it.
I don't even know if you're a free agent back. I don't even know if you want to be signed right now, just because you do want that to play out, and then afterwards, when there is a need, you can place your bets there on the table and say, hey, you need me. You missed your shot in the draft.
Yeah.
Yep.
Come and make that deal with me then. The other side of it, Nix, is Coach has said this before. You're looking at two types of backs right here, and one side of the back is that scat, receiving back, but then that other back is that one that can block on third downs and a good pass blocker, those types of things. And it almost seems like the league is changing a little bit, because the value of that person now, maybe you could say like a Zeke, the value of him is a lot less, in the sense of the need for him. If you're going to sit there and be a running team and want to give them the ball 25 times and just pound and pound and pound, well, then that's probably the direction you need to go. But I don't know. I just don't see that league anymore, where we're going to just sit here and pound the ball 25 times. I don't know about you. I mean, I like smash mouth football, but if we're just going to sit there and just run the ball just to run the ball and say, hey, I did my attempts, but you're not efficient in it, then you better change up your scheme, because at the end of the day, it's about playmakers. It's about, getting yards down the field. And so, coaches made some great points that, hey, the idea of a player like Zeke is no longer somebody that you want to value as far as give him a big contract anyhow, because these other backs with the value of catching and motioning and all those different things, it's changing every single day.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, if you kind of go back over the last 4 or 5 Super Bowls, the idea of being balanced is very indifferent now. Most of the teams that you see winning, they're throwing the ball about 60% and running the ball about 40%. Now, obviously, when you have a lead, right, now those attempts kind of go up a little bit in the fourth quarter, different things like that. The interesting part with the Cowboys that is so wildly indifferent than, say, the analytics or other teams that are around the league is, there's the thing called the Cowboy way. And, always the argument, do the Jones want to win or not? They want to win, but they want to win their way. Is kind of what it is. And their way is kind of what you're talking about there, Reb, of, smash mouth, running the ball, doing those things, but the times are changing here. And, going back to that standpoint of, look, there is not a bell cow here right now, period. Right. And there's not very many
out there, period, to be honest, Nick.
Maybe Kareem Hunt in free agency, you can maybe consider to be a quote unquote bell cow style if you want to bring him in here. But if you go into the draft, that's when we get back to the Bijan talk. Well, he's a prototypical style of running back that matches up to what they want to do. So, as Mike McCarthy's in here and changing the culture, and we're seeing different things happen with them, it's very intriguing to see how they're going to attack this thing and how they're going to run the ball and the way they're going to get after it. Because, you're going to a zone running scheme, zone with purpose with Solar, but it's a zone running scheme. You look at Schottenheimer and his running concepts from the Seattle days and how they run the ball. It's a much different look than what the Cowboys have been doing in the previous offensive coordinators and how they've attacked it. So you do need different guys, but you do need a guy, because we know Pollard, he's going to max out somewhere. You want Paul to have those 15 to 20 touches, and it's a mix of running and catching the ball. It's not
That's
15.
Right.
It's not 15 carries and 4 catches. It's a mix, within that. So they got to have a guy that can give you 3 straight carries. Not that Paul can't do that at times, but the guy's consistent in that realm and do it. So it's a big piece of the puzzle they got to figure out between now and training camp. And I'm very intrigued to see how things are rolling out with this new offensive coaching staff in the building, and now, of course, ultimately with Zeke out of the building.
Yep.
Well, we've talked about running backs to death. Let's talk a little bit about, we're talking about throwing the ball, right? That we don't want to throw the ball the Jones way. Let's talk about some wide receivers, Nix. And we've got all of 3 worth talking about on the roster right now, and one of them is a kick returner. So there's a lot of talk out there about different guys. We got D-Hop out there, obviously, all the talk about, which supposedly we haven't even contacted the Cardinals about, if you're to believe the talking heads. We got Judy out there that they're talking about, and then obviously they've been
Mhm.
talking about Odell Beckham for. It feels like years now that they've been talking about Odell Beckham coming here. So lay it out for us, Nick. If you're Steven Jones, well, let's not even say Steven. If you're the GM of the Cowboys with the Cowboys wallet, you're not Steven Jones because that'll just ruin it. You're the GM of the Cowboys. What are you doing at this wide receiver position? We have to do something, right?
It's true. I mean, if the one thing for me, I look at the Cowboys is when are you going to go all in? At what point? Like, you just haven't pushed the chips in the middle of the table. You draft well, but you basically punt on, your trades and free agency, but you draft well. Okay, great. You need to do something else. Do the all-in movement. And I put the tweet out earlier today, just simply like, just imagine a player of DeAndre Hopkins level who this current team is in the process of a transition and they are going to move on from him. And that said player says, hey, I want to go here. Not only do I want to go there, I'm willing to not worry about my contract and be flexible and do those things. It's all on the board. And said team is just like, we're good. We're chilling. We're not doing much. I think it's asinine. I think it's just, business as usual, how the Cowboys kind of do things at times, which is frustrating to the fan base, and I totally get it. I think it's very simple. The answer for me as a GM, word. 90 in Gallimore? No? Oh, okay. 90 Kelvin Joseph? No? Oh, okay. How about 58 nothing? Cool? All right, say less.
Done.
And
sign it.
You pull the trigger, and you get it done, and you move on. I was okay with Odell. I know some people are a little indifferent because of the injury. The one thing I think that is good to highlight about his 2 ACL surgeries, the guy that did the second one said the first one was basically botched. And ultimately, and you look around the NFL, a lot of guys that do have the ACL injury want to get it fixed the right way. They typically don't have it in the same knee again, right? But now here you are with back-to-back, and the said surgeon that did his second surgery said, yeah, the first one wasn't repaired properly. So I'm not really worried about the injury standpoint of stuff. The full court press, as you said, Coach, it seems like we've been doing this for years because of everything last year, what was going on. And here you are now, and it's the tweet of, well, they're trying to pay box wine prices. And then we fast forward and he wants $20 million and all this stuff. And then today he comes out and says,
more than $4
well, I never said 20, but I'm not doing $4 million. I'm just like, this is exhausting.
Yeah.
just to figure it out and get him here.
Do it or
it's
don't.
Exhausting. Right. And like I said, and the Cowboys hold on, for all the Lord of the Rings fans, they're precious. These draft picks, is where they are, and not want to give that up. But I'm like, look, man, you already did something with Gilmore, which is really great. And what a great deal to give him with your comp pick. It wasn't even your actual pick, it was a comp pick. Man, spend the second and move forward, right? And get the job done and go all in and get the weapons around them and let's move forward. That would be my answers. Go get D-Hop. He wants to be here. He's wanting to work on the contract. What do you got to do to make it happen within reason? No, I'm not giving up 26, but they're not asking for 26. They say second and then some. How about this? Here's a great scenario. How about I don't give them a second, though? How about I say, hey, guys, y'all got pick 34. We got pick 26. How about y'all send us D-Hop? We'll give you 26. We'll take 34. You'll get your fifth-year option, if you will. We still get a pick in the top 35, right at 34.
Done.
And
Done.
maybe I'll give you a fifth or fourth compensatory pick, maybe
sign
pick next year.
And
you don't lose a pick this year, So maybe something we'll see at once we get to the draft day, maybe something happens there. But I think this is the way to make it happen, and they should make it happen with D-Hop and get him in here and pair him up with Lamb, and let's get this thing moving.
Absolutely. Rev, wide receiver, what are you doing?
It drives me nuts as well, because when I see them in their draft process, I argue with people all the time on this, but I'm telling you right now, the Cowboys know the guys they want in the draft. Like, they might not have it organized completely yet, but they have the guys in every draft. I don't know how many we're talking, 200 and whatever, 70, whatever. And I'm telling you, out of that 270, whatever, they got 15 guys that they're already looking and saying, those are our guys. When are we going to pick them? That's at the end of the day. That's where you want to argue with it. And so they're going to pick the guys that they want. Doesn't even matter when, but they're going to pick them 2 rounds early. two rounds late. Yeah, they're going to pick these guys wherever they're going to pick them. And a lot of times, us fans, we sit back and we go crazy every year. Why'd you do that?
Tyler Smith.
Or I don't understand that. Tyler Smith, or or Taco, and at the end of the day, you see the intentionality on their draft picks, and I'm just sitting back going, why can't y'all do that with free agency? Why can't y'all sit around and say, this guy, I want this guy? Like, everybody in the world knows you want OBJ. Like, OBJ knows you want OBJ, Jerry. Like, go get him. Like, what are we trying to save right here if that's the guy that you want? Like, D-Hop wants to come here.
Deal. They want to win the
They
deal.
want to win their way. Their way. They want to pay
way.
him whatever that is, $3 million or 3 year, $4 million a year. Hey, we'll give you a good bonus or whatever. And at the end of the day, what I think they're doing, and this is just my opinion, they are waiting out to the last minute. If the OBJ thing, if that doesn't work out, it falls through, I think they make a trade for a receiver. I feel pretty confident in that, but I think OBJ is number one on their list. Jerry's sitting back and he's looking at jersey sales. He's looking at all these different things coming in the mail with OBJ being on the team. And he's saying, I'm going to try to work this out to where he can be on this team, but at my cost. And so they're going to play that game. When is he going to get on the team? I don't know. But if it falls through, they're going to pursue somebody else and give up a pick. And I'm just thinking, man, at some point that's going to bite you in the butt, because you sat there and waited with every single other contract. And what has happened? We're in this cap situation because you sat there on your hands during free agency these past few years. And so, yeah, it drives me nuts. But I think in the inside of every Cowboy fan, we know what they're doing. We know the game they're playing, and they're going to use the media. They're going to throw fire and fake stuff out there on social media. They're going to get everybody all fired up and everything. And at the end of the day, they're going to do what they want to do. It kills me. But again, sometimes I wish during the off season I could just shut it all off and then just, turn on the TV and it's opening day. And then just kick it off. But let's be honest, we love it. As much as we hate it, we love it. We love it because everybody wants to talk about the Cowboys. Everybody's focused on the Cowboys. And we wouldn't have it any other way. It drives us nuts. But, we're just waiting for the day for us to wake up in the morning and we're going to go, hey, we finally did it. Good job, Jerry. But we're also waiting for that heartbreak as well, going, he didn't get the deal done. What are you doing? We're waiting for that as well. So,
well, let me ask you guys about another receiver on the team, Rev. Since we're talking about receivers and we're talking about free agents, let me ask about Dalton Schultz. And anybody that's watched the podcast in the past knows that I am not a Dalton Schultz fan. And not just because he's a free agent now. I was saying it mid-season, before the season. Like, this guy, I call him a receiver because he definitely isn't a tight end. The guy's soft, and it's bothered me from the moment he became our starting tight end. He's just soft. He's a liability in the run game, blah, blah, blah. I've said it a million times. Even in his receiving, though, he's soft. Like, if he's going to get hit, he's not catching the ball. But right now, the league is agreeing with me because he's sitting out there as a free agent getting no attention, right? Was I wrong? Nix, you're new to the show. Are you a Dalton Schultz guy? Are you a big Dalton Schultz guy? Or are you happy? Maybe we'll get him back. I don't know.
No, I don't want no parts of Dalton Schultz on the team. I'm good here. I look, and I appreciate the service, and being a little bit of a blanket. I mean, ultimately what it boils down to, this is all the Cooper Rush thing and all the different takes from Cooper Rush, from the fan base and national media and whatnot. Cooper Rush is going to get a starting job next year. Yeah, okay. The NFL told you who Cooper Rush is, basically, right? And we see he's back here. It's something with Dalton Schultz. Because of the system and because of that and how they run things, he was just the guy who got the volume, and that's what happened here. And the league is basically spoke that way, because if that's the case, I mean, Mike Gesicki just went and got a deal, right? You look and guess what? Kellen Moore's over there in LA with the Chargers. They brought back their other guy. They said, nah, we heard they were interested. Don't show something. Never mind. We're bringing back Parham. We're good here. So the league is kind of speaking about Dalton Schultz as well. And when the league speaks, you should listen. And I think the Cowboys, You know, what they did with Ferguson. I was huge on Ferguson in the draft process last year. Absolutely love it. Hendershot was kind of a little low key on my radar, to be honest with you guys. Shout out to my guy, I think it was Mendoza or Dom, who kind of put him on my radar, and was super excited to get him in here and how they played. I'm just good. I don't see how he fits here, even with Sean McEwen being back on this team. Now, on the flip side, I know we kind of mentioned a little bit earlier. Look, if it's running back or tight end at 26, it's running back for me. I'm not taking a tight end at 26 again
All day.
because
All
I have Ferguson and Hendershot. So I mean, now you want to talk? Look, you can twist my arm for Sam Laporta out of Iowa at 58, depending on how things fall, you know, or maybe 90. But outside that, I'm not taking a tight end in the first round. And yeah, Dalton Schultz, man, appreciate you, brother, and what you did. And you know, your best blocking was definitely on Twitter because you blocked everybody. So you know, keep that same energy and do that to a different fan base. So we just kind of move forward. They just, you know, I'm just good on Dalton Schultz in general.
Rev, you want him back, man?
Yeah,
You signing him tomorrow?
Well, let me put it this way: that you know, without Schultz being there, that puts the need for a receiver that much higher, because you're looking at the targets that are going out between CeeDee Lamb and who's number two. It's not a receiver, it's Dalton Schultz. So you got to replace that, and rather than being passive with, hey, it could be Ferguson, and let's throw up Travis Kelce, you know, comps with Ferguson. It's kind of like, all right, let's have a better plan than that,
because get some of those targets, Rev.
Yeah, give it to Pollard. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just, you know, I think I probably agree with you guys. The my fear though is that we're not going to replace it, and at the end of the day, we're going to need those targets again with Schultz, and I don't know if the Cowboys are done with him. In fact, part of me says they already gave him a contract, and I know we're scared of that. But I'm thinking that they might already gave him a contract and he declined and maybe hit the streets and said, no, I'm gonna go see what the market says. And my fear is it might turn right back around and they might go ahead and sign him to a super friendly deal. And so I know that might not be what we want. Go ahead, Nix.
I was gonna say, just for me, Dalton Schultz is just the ultimate progress stopper at this point. He just is. And look, we're talking about the targets. I'd much rather give those targets at this point to Ferguson because I think there's more bang for the buck getting them to Ferguson than Schultz coming back here and doing what he did the last 2 years. That's kind of where I'm at with it, you know, because, again, he is who he is. We know who he is. We know he brings to the table, and that's what you're going to get from him. It's not going to be like he's going to come back and do something better. You know, the only thing that could happen if he came back is, you know, it's a drop-off at this point for him and where he's at as compared to Ferguson, who's going to his second year and an ascending player. So I need those targets to go to him more so than I need to get Schultz back here on a cheap deal just to feel comfortable those targets hit him is where I land on it. Again, I think those targets going to Ferguson is just more valuable than having Schultz back here on another 1 year, whatever, plug-in $5, $7, $8 million deal. I think it's, you know, just like Zeke. Yeah, I mean, just like unless they're on Twitter. Don't forget on Twitter, he's good at that. You know, somehow survived that so far. But again, it's just the same situation we looked at Zeke. You know, it's a crossroad. It is what it is. And for this team to move forward, it's just time for him to move on, no matter what the market's going and what's happening now. And it's funny because talking about the contract, maybe he turned it down. I think ultimately the Cowboys cost him by tagging him and then not getting a deal done because that's put him in the position he's in now, which could be interesting with Pollard the following year. But yeah, where the Cowboys are currently sitting at, I think it behooves them to not be tempted to bring him back in here.
I disagree with you guys on the. Go ahead, Rev.
Yeah, I was just gonna say for us, you know, that's how we feel, but I'm not 100% sure that that's what the front office is thinking.
That's fair.
You know what I'm saying? That's where I'm coming from. Where they're gonna say, man, we like Schultz, we like what he brings, and again, I like that phrase you said, a progress stopper, and what we all can agree on is Dak made Schultz, not the other way around. Not the other way around. And so we can sit here again, and I want to switch subjects here, but again, Dak needs playmakers. Dak needs help around him. And what are we seeing that's consistent across the table? These guys are hitting the market and nobody's wanting to sign them. Like Noah Brown, getting a 1-year deal with the worst team in the league. Noah Dalton Schultz sitting around here and nobody even giving him a taste.
Hang on, Rev.
Nobody
Rev,
giving him a
hang on
taste.
now, man. I'm not gonna let you knock
What?
my boy Noah like that. Hold on, my boy
Dude,
Noah.
dude,
Did he catch 50
he's been
more
on our
passes
team
with
for
us
Rev's
this
15
year?
right.
years.
Hold on.
Hold on, no.
Rev's right, though. I mean,
Did he
Dalton
catch?
Schultz is a
He
Pro
caught
Bowler.
50 more passes this year than he should have. What did he catch? 55, right? If I'm remembering his stats right, he caught 55
Listen.
passes. Yeah, he caught 50 more
Listen.
passes, but that guy busted his ass for the Cowboys.
He did.
It's not
Well,
his fault that we didn't use him
I
how he
agree
should have
there.
been used. That's not his fault. I'm happy that he's getting paid still to be in this league. He's in his 7th year. A guy
Listen.
that has no speed. He's a good route runner. Like he is not a gifted wide receiver, and he's going into his 7th year in the league because he busts his ass. We used him wrong. We absolutely shouldn't have thrown. If he caught 55, we probably threw 80 to him, right? If not 100. We threw 100 passes to a guy that should have had 5. And he should have been out there being an extra tight end. If not, he blocks way better than Schultz does. Let me just put it out there like that. But I will not have you slandering my boy Noah Brown because the Cowboys, Kellen Moore, used him inappropriately. Noah Brown did everything we asked him to do, man. Anyway, I had to interrupt.
And,
I had to
Coach,
my boy
no,
Noah.
you're good, Coach, because I actually agree on that, and I've spoken a lot about that last year and then into this offseason. Is I can't blame Noah Brown for being Noah Brown, right?
For being Noah Brown.
I can't blame him. Yeah, I can't blame him for being Noah Brown. He can only do what they ask him to do. Now, special teams, blocking. Look, and I said before, Noah Brown is probably not a number 3, and at times he was number 2 for us, a wide receiver going into the games. He's not a number 3 wide receiver on any team in this league. Doesn't mean he doesn't have value at a pro and he can bring something to your team. But we asked him to do something that he can't do. So I'm not going to blame Noah Brown for being Noah Brown. But to Rev's point, though, and it does matter here, but to Rev's point, he still got a deal done before a Pro Bowl tight end. Just saying.
He can block. You need a guy like Noah Brown that's going to come in there and get dirty. Like there's always going to be a place for a guy like that.
But here's the problem, Coach. Here's a problem, Coach. Again, he is a what was that phrase again, Nick?
Absolutely. I don't want him back on the Cowboys, Rev. I see the point you're going to.
No, we don't.
We don't want him back.
No, because he's going to end up being right back in that same role.
Yes.
Like there's again, we love the Cowboys because of their commitment to their guys, and yet we struggle to let guys go in the time that they need to be let go. And we're looking at Noah Brown, and yes, listen, thank you, Noah Brown, but no thank you. Like, please leave, please go and block for somebody else. I appreciate all that you've done, but when I'm at the Jacksonville Jags game and we're sitting in overtime and homeboy drops the ball right off his chest, dude, I'm looking at my son on his birthday and I'm going, sorry, bro, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I'm saying? Like my feelings are gone now. You know, it's like we've done you good enough. You've made enough money with us, and we gave you a shot to start. Go enjoy the rest of your career. And so, at the end of the day, that's all I'm saying is we Dak needs playmakers. Schultz is what he is. You know what I'm saying? Noah Brown is what he is. Cedric Wilson. Boy, I wish we'd have hung on to him because I thought last year he could have had a fantastic year. But again, he's gone and he went to a different team, got paid. And is he even the 5th wide receiver on that team? I don't know. I haven't even heard his name with the Dolphins.
He had like 15 receptions.
They just signed Berrios down there too. So Berrios is going to be the slot guy.
It's going to be interesting if they cut him. I was wondering if they signed Braxton Berrios. I was wondering if Cedric Wilson gets cut. But here's the other side to that is, was Cedric Wilson just a product because of Dak, and we saw him go somewhere else and not be there? So, teams, and I see a lot of people, or not teams, I see a lot of people saying, just get Cedric Wilson back. It's like, we need to upgrade, though. We've already been through the path with him. We need to upgrade, though. But what a time to be alive that both ABs, offensively and defensively, are going to be gone in the same year with, not AB, AB and MB, excuse me, Noah Brown and Anthony Brown. Much maligned at times here in Cowboys Nation in both of them leagues, but I think underappreciated, though. I do want to land the plane here and give Coach his props. I do agree. What Noah Brown was able to do while he was here was valuable to the team, but they tried to push him up the rungs here a little bit. You remember because preseason, oh, he dropped the weight. He's looking better. Now, we're going to ask him to do
Let's
this.
throw it to him 100
And
times.
yeah, he just wasn't ready for that. And same thing with Anthony Brown. Look, they drafted Kelvin Joseph in his rookie year. They gave him every opportunity to beat Anthony Brown his rookie year to be the starter.
Every
and he
opportunity.
couldn't do it.
That's right.
Every
That's right.
opportunity. And he couldn't do it. Fast forward to year 2, and unfortunately Brown takes the injury. Kelvin Joseph lasted 6 quarters against the Texans and Jacksonville Jaguars and was regulated back to special teams again. Dear God. Ugh. Davis Mills out here picking on him. God.
Well, Nick's dig right in. This was on my list of things to talk about. Dig right into that corner position and the trade we made.
Oh, fantastic! Wow, what a time to be alive. Out of nowhere, didn't hear anything, and then boom, hey, here's Stephon Gilmore, ladies and gentlemen. So the one thing to me immediately that stuck out was after the Brown injury, and Bland did go outside for a game or two, and then they're like, hey, man, they just basically anyone they could find on the streets to put on the outside and put Bland back inside, they did. I mean, we did with Xavier Rhodes right off the street starting in the playoffs for us. So and from my mindset, Dan Quinn says, hey, they like Bland, but they want Bland as the slot. That's where they want him. So they had to secure the outside realm. And I think the trade for Gilmore just screams volumes about where they're at with Kelvin Joseph. Obviously, talking about the 6 quarters and what happened. And, and they shone right too, right? Because remember, that same draft, they took Nashon right in the 3rd quarter. I think there's times, or the 3rd round, excuse me.
Double dip.
I think there was times, though, last year that Nashon Wright played well, though. More so than I saw from Kelvin. But again, Gilmore, we just know what it is. I think the big thing people talk about, he's 32, 33-ish, and whatever. But prior to the Colts campaign, he actually had knee surgery, fixed his meniscus. He was pain-free for the first time in 3 or 4 years. They had a phenomenal year. Like, if you go look, the year that he had was better than Slade, better than Ramsey, and some of it was even better than Jair Alexander. So you're bringing that in now. And, where we saw Aaron Rodgers in certain things at times just basically said, we're just not going to throw the dig side. Okay, good luck. Now it's Gilmore. And so now it'll be interesting to see some of the opportunities that Diggs are going to get this year. But you're set, though, right? I think it's the best thing here about this cornerback because now you have Gilmore, right? You have Diggs. You got Bland in the slot. And you still have Jordan Lewis coming in here for that depth piece in the slot as well. So, I mean, this is about as deep as I can remember, guys, of the cornerback position being for the Cowboys at this time in March that you feel really, really good about in a very long time.
Yeah.
What do you think, Rev?
Yeah. So let me ask this real quick for Nick's. Does that change your view or the Cowboys' view on how they want to address the draft? I mean, do you feel pretty confident with the corners that we have in place, or are we still thinking, hey, let's draft a corner high?
It depends on what their plan is with Gilmore. Is it an idea where they want to keep him around for 2-3 years, or is this going to be a 1 year? I think this contract, he's still here for 2, if I'm not mistaken, right? But I think they can get out of the contract after this year. So it's really their plan with him. But what it does is it gives them flexibility, right? They've covered their bases. It gives them flexibility to what they want to do. So if you're sitting at 26, and let's say Joey Porter Jr.'s there at 26, I mean,
yes, please.
You're not mad at that pick, right? Yeah, I mean, you're like, okay, well, damn it. Well, Porter Jr.'s here, so we'll go that route. But now what happens is the guy Banks from Maryland that we saw, kind of the guy being in the realms, or was Forbes, maybe Forbes a little bit undersized from Mississippi State. Now, if those guys are there, we're good. We can wait. We can let it go a little bit, and maybe I go get my guy DJ from Michigan, 6'1", 6'2", speed guy. Maybe Banks, not Banks, but Bennett, the other corner from Maryland as well, which I actually like more than Banks, to be honest, but neither here nor there. Maybe a little bit later. So, it changes your priority. Like, yes, if you're at 26 and that potential guy lands on your table, okay, yeah, he's the best one on our board. We have a first-round grade. The board's kind of wiped everywhere else. We're going to stick and pick. You do that. But now you don't feel like you have to reach or make it a priority to go get it at least this year.
Yeah, so I'm sitting back, and I'm kind of reminiscing a little bit of how all this thing unfolded. And again, anytime free agency hits in, as a Cowboy fan, we're tuned in. We are ready for something to happen. And so, what do we see coming right off of Sunday? Ramsey getting traded for a 3rd round pick, and the entire Cowboy nation erupts
including
and
Micah Parsons,
and just going, what are we doing? Like, what third round pick for Ramsey? Are you kidding me right now? Which, if I was to reverse that and go back, shoot, I think I would still give up a third round pick for Ramsey. I kind of feel, he's still in that place, and the contract kind of sits well with that. But either way, I'm sitting on Sunday and I'm going, man, what in the world's going on here? We hit free agency and we're kind of sitting around. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, I guess it was Tuesday. Y'all remind me or not, Tuesday or whatever. And then this trade kind of goes through. I think I'm headed home from, picking the boys up from school or whatever. And then I happen to see the pick and the trade, and I'm going, wow, we got Gilmore. And it had to kind of settle in a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got
Cowboys?
Gilmore.
What? Stephen Jones?
Yeah, like
the Cowboys made a trade. Okay, and I didn't even know. I didn't even know what I'm walking in the door, and I'm trying to figure out what they give up. And in my head, I'm going, doggone it, they just gave up a third round pick for Gilmore. Which I probably wouldn't have been too happy about. But then in the back of my head, I'm going, what would you give up? And I'm going, a fifth round pick. That's what I would give for Gilmore. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. Picking up that doing that fifth trade round pick. And I'm going, man, that's a heck of a deal right there. Yeah, he is north of 30, but across the league, very well respected, solid corner. I think he's going to be on the outside just like Diggs is, and he's going to lock down. And I love what Diggs tweeted out there. I don't know if y'all saw it, but he just said, good luck, because he knows the talent that was brought in right there with the Cowboys. So I absolutely love the trade. I love Gilmore as a player. I think he's going to come in, and on top of everything, I think he's going to make Diggs even better, which, for those that know, I'm a big Diggs fan. Go ahead and pay Diggs. Let's get it done. Is he going to cost a lot of money? Absolutely. But I'm kind of thinking, let's go ahead and get it done. And, so great dynamic position right there, helping the team out. The question is, can we get some more beef up front to help that defense back in the corner, the secondary position to even lock down even more? And so just absolutely love it. I think them two together, great duo, one of the top duos in the league right now. Got our safeties back, which I didn't know if you guys wanted to talk about that as well, but
let's put a pin in that when it come back to your safety talk, Rev. We definitely need to talk about that.
You got it. You got it. And so, yeah, I just, I absolutely love the trade, and, can't go back, but I'm looking at the draft saying, yeah, we probably need to draft a corners. Well, you know how this goes. Never can have enough corners. Mm-hmm. And you come in from last year, and what happened? J. Lou got hurt, got banged up, ended up missing this for the season. Then you turn around and AB got hurt. He's gone. Ugh. And Bland came in there, who is a fifth round pick. Bland came in there and started and had a better year than Diggs did. Just phenomenal year for Bland. Love the player, love his attack on the ball. And so, yeah, you want to.
Whoa, Rev, whoa. Might have had more receptions. I don't know about a better year. Yeah, I know.
I was rolling, Nick. I was rolling, baby.
You slid that in there. I was like, wait, pause.
Yeah.
Pause. Had more receptions. I don't think he had a better year than Diggs, though. Just want to put a pin in that real quick. Go ahead, though. You were rolling. I loved it because if not for Bland,
I was rolling, baby.
How down bad would this secondary would have been if Bland didn't step up, brother? Jesus.
Year is over. So again, same game, Jags there, and Ola or Trevor or my coach of the year over there is sitting there watching the game. It's 28-10. You know what? I think all of a sudden he looked over there and said, "Who's that corner over there on the right side?"
Yeah. That's
Kelvin Joseph. Kelvin Joseph. Oh, let me give him a little 1-2 out there. Hey, go ahead, Trevor. Go ahead and throw that thing over top. And boop, touchdown.
Kelvin who?
And you know what? I'm going, all right, we got this. We're good. But then a little in and out right there to Mr. Slot Guy. Boop, right on Joseph again. And then it was around the third time you could see Quinn over there on the sidelines going, get him out.
That's it. Yeah.
Get him out. You come sit down right here on the bench. You come sit right here on the bench because we're done with you. And then, you know, anybody down the street. I want to say the Cowboys, at one time, Jerry texted me, asked me if he wanted me to come play corner because I think they were that desperate over there for that spot. But, you know, again, this is a fantastic move for the Cowboys. I'm just absolutely thrilled right here, Coach.
So I've got two takes on this that we'll talk about real quick. First of all, we're all Cowboys nerds, right? So we all watched every minute of those preseason games. I guarantee the three of us sitting here and tweets in the chat, another Cowboys nerd, nobody watched Kelvin Joseph or Nashawn Wright playing the preseason and was like, I can't wait for that young guy to get on the field because they got absolutely destroyed in the preseason. Anytime they were on the field, it didn't matter. And Kelvin Joseph is just bad, like all around bad, has no redeeming qualities about him. Wright is always in the right position. It just doesn't have the ball skills to make a play on the ball. Like, it just doesn't make a play on the ball. So, like, of the two, I prefer Wright.
Yeah.
Calvin Joseph is terrible. He's awful. I'd be surprised if he's on the team next year. But, yeah, in that game, I don't know if did he play again other than special teams last year, Rev, after that Jaguars game?
He might have got a couple of reps, but not much.
Reps.
Not much.
Reps. Yeah.
Reps. Reps. That's it.
So the second Kelvin Joseph was in the game after AB went out, I was like, oh my gosh, here we go. And then we move on to Wright, and I'm like, oh my gosh, did these coaches not watch the preseason? Like, guys, and Wright actually made some plays. Like, he flashed a little bit that maybe there's a little potential there. His size is outstanding. He's got size, he's got speed. He just doesn't have ball skills. And I say that, and he made like maybe the most athletic interception of any of our corners last year. But that aside, like, he just doesn't play the ball very well. Between the two, if I have to keep one, keep Wright, get rid of Kelvin Joseph, which I think Kelvin. I don't know why you keep Kelvin Joseph. It's not like he was a great special teams player. He was okay. He made some tackles on special teams, but he's not I'm blanking on his name. We just re-signed him. What's our special teams ace?
CJ Goodwin.
Yeah,
Goodwin.
There you go, Goodwin. He's not him. So, like, let's not have two of those guys on the team. Like, if we're
and Coach,
Goodwin, go ahead.
And Coach, here's the thing. Anytime you're in the year 2 of your second round pick, and like, oh, he's gonna be a special teams ace for us, and that it's just a bad sign. It's just a bad sign. And then even the double down even on the bad sign. Did y'all see whenever the trade went through for Gilmore, what he did on Instagram, or no?
I did not see it. What happened?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So they made the trade for Gilmore. So Kelvin Joseph went live on Instagram talking about why'd they do this to me. Brother.
Tape don't lie, bro. Tape don't lie.
Yeah. Jeez Louise.
Oh man. But to come back to
he
come
was
back full
just
circle
asking
on
for
that, I think that it was a poor plan coming in, and it's coming back to Rev's point that you can't ever have enough corners. Because say we come into next year and our starters on the outside are Diggs and Gilmore. We got Bland in the slot. We have Jordan Lewis still on the team, maybe. I know there's a lot of talk out there that we might release him or whatever. There's absolutely no way that we can come in with that and Kelvin Joseph and Wright behind him. There's no way we can do that. Does that mean we bring in another 5th-round pick or for 4th or 3rd or another guy, another body somewhere along those lines? But what Rev, I'm agreeing with you completely, Rev. I know it doesn't happen very often that we absolutely have to add more bodies to that position. All right, so you're 100% right there. We have to. We cannot come in with Kelvin Joseph in any way that Kelvin Joseph or Wright can see the field, man. So 100% right. Nix, do you? I don't know if you follow Rev on Twitter.
Yeah.
But Rev today puts out a tweet, stirring the pot.
He stirred the pot.
So basically,
Stir
what
the
he said,
pot.
for those that didn't see it, was, why did we pay Donovan Wilson without even thinking about it and lowball J-Ron Curse? Which is okay. Okay, he's putting the question out there. That's fine. J-Ron Curse himself responds and says, that's a good question, right? Isn't that what he said, Rev? Something like that. That's a good question.
It's a fair. He said it's not crazy. It's fair, right?
He said it's not a weird. I didn't see it, so
not a weird.
Coach Yeah, coach
It's
texts
not a
me.
weird
I'm up.
question. It's a fair question. That's what he said.
Yeah, I'm up at the church house, and coach goes,
Doing
"Hey,
the Lord's
is that
work.
the real?" Yeah, he goes, is that the real J Ron? I said, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
He goes, he responded to your tweet. I said, I haven't looked on Twitter, you know? And so I was like, he goes, yeah, he deleted it. I said, well, what'd he say? You know, and I think he said on the regards, I put out there a weird question. And then he said, no, it's not a weird question, it's just an honest question or a real honest question. So he obviously liked it. You know, I wasn't trying to stir the pot, but I don't know why I woke up this morning and just thought that. I'm going, man, we paid Dono, and I don't really, you know, for me, J. Ron Curse is a beast, you know, and he never got his money. So I just
now the guy's mad. Like he's gonna go into that dang
Yeah.
locker room with the safeties and be like, "That's bull crap, guys."
yeah
yeah.
This guy on
Well,
Twitter's
see,
he's
talking
in cold
trash
out
about
this
it.
year. Oh,
Yeah.
my fault,
So-
guys. My bad.
Yeah, so
My bad.
so Rev tagged me and I saw it this morning, and I was like, okay. I was going to respond. I was like, well, maybe that's for the show tonight. And then of course I had Tyreek Hill quote tweet my shit. Oh, excuse my language. Sorry guys, didn't mean to cuss there. But I had Tyreek Hill quote tweet my tweet about Dak and D Hop following each other on Instagram, and that was the whole show for me with inboxes and everything else going on yesterday. I was like, well, this is maybe a question for tonight, and I'd already seen that Kirsten liked him. Like, I'm just gonna chill and wait for the show and talk about it. I have my phone with Tyreek. I'm gonna sit back over here and wait. But the answer is though, the reason why is because the Cowboys believe in pay of their own, and they look at guys that they bring in that they don't draft differently. Is what it boils down to.
Yeah.
And also too, timing is everything. So they got Hooker and Curse here for another year. And obviously, we've seen Izzy McQuam what he did last year, and he's kind of the tweener corner safety guy. We know they have Bell as well, who they brought in here, undrafted free agent from FAMU last year.
Look great.
But you got to have a bridge gap. Facts. But you have to have a bridge gap here. So getting the Donovan Wilson multi-year deal done allows them to have the flexibility. Because I know as fans, it's always about this season, the 23 season, nothing forward. But, you know, the front office does have to look at it multi-years down the road. So getting the Wilson deal done, they drafted him, so he's been the good soldier here. He's our guy, so we'll give him the deal. They got the 2-year deal done with Curse last year, but the market kind of dictated. No one jumped out there, so I just worked in the system. But going into the next offseason, though, Donovan's firmly planted here. What do you want to do with Hooker or Curse? Do you want to bring one of them back? Do you want to let them both go? Either way, you've covered yourself. But ultimately, the money side of things is they developed and drafted, so they want to pay him for being the guy here, and Curse is the guy off the street. And that's just, if you look how they move in general across the land, they'll pay their guys. They don't pay outside guys. Even if they get a second contract in here, they just don't do it. So, and sometimes you can be LV, you don't get paid anyways, period. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, and I didn't even think about that, Nix, but it's 100% facts. Like, Cowboys do love their own, so that makes complete sense. So I don't know, I just that kind of popped up in my head, and I'm going, man, you know, that's just weird to me because I'm looking at Donovan and I'm saying, man, he had a fantastic year, and then
so
you know, J. Ron,
right? You're not wrong.
Curse has been a stud since he came in, and maybe one of the most overlooked safeties in the entire league. Like, he could have made the Pro Bowl not last year, but the year before. I thought he was Pro Bowl, you know, worthy. And so, yeah, I just I kind of sat back and I just thought about that. Now being that was brought up, I want you, Nix, I want you to share a little bit about, because I was telling this to Coach today. I was going, yeah, I think Nix got responded to by T. Hill. You know, and again, he was asking me, you know, hey, what was that respond to? And I was trying to share with him, but I wanted you to kind of share that story here on the show.
Yeah. So as we were running the space and whatnot, you know, and we were kind of rounding down, you know, a gentleman, Nate, came in and was like, hey, I've been kind of following here, and Dak and D-Hop had kind of followed each other. So I went over and looked, and I was kind of going through and looked like, oh, they did actually follow each other. And this was off of, you know, the Dak and Aikman and speaking engagement they had at the mall, and how he talks about no more sugarcoating, you know, things like that. Got to go all in, you know, time is now, so on and so forth. So I saw it and I screenshot and put it out there. I was like, hey man, he followed some Cowboys players, and him and Dak followed each other, and I put the pictures up. Well, fast forward later, Tyreek Hill quote tweets is like, says follows tons of Cowboys players, but only provides one receipt. I'm like, well, yeah, because I mean, Dak and D-Hop is the reason why I posted it. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, of course, I went and did some more research there. He follows like 6 to 8 Cowboys, but D-Hop only follows 570 people. So, I mean, that's more than any other team that he follows. But I was like, hey, look, maybe tons is an exaggeration, but the fact that Dak and him follow each other and just recently followed each other was really the receipt and what the form was. So appreciate Tyreek Hill, and maybe it was a slow day down there in Miami with his 1 million followers on Twitter and just my measly 5,000. And I mean, I don't know. Does he think D-Hop's coming to Miami or whatever? I have no clue how that stumbled across and he ended up doing it. But it's a Twitter sphere, you know, and I had some other man he was blowing me up like, oh, it's beef. I'm like, but it's not beef, man. It's Twitter, man. It's social media. Like, I don't take, like, I enjoy social media. I enjoy the interaction and stuff like that. Man, I don't take none of this stuff serious. Like personal, I guess I should say, right? I mean, I take my content and what I do and what I talk about very serious. I'm trying to be honest. And look, if I'm right, I'm right. And if I'm wrong, I have no problems owning when I'm wrong, because nobody in this game gets it 1,000% correct, right? But it's funny, like everyone started wanting to try to needle all this beef. I was like, dude, it's no beef, bro. Like, dude, he's a multi-million. Like, dude, he's in the NFL. He's a multi-millionaire. Like, he'll be fine. He's not that bothered, guys. I promise you. But you know, just a fun engagement. You know, I mean, I have another story on Twitter before I was doing content. Me and Patrick Creighton went back and forth. Now that was some beef, and he blocked me and things. But
good old
different
Patty
story
Creighton,
for a different time. Yeah, different story, different time.
Public enemy number one. Yeah.
Should have told him if he doesn't fumble that ball, then Romo doesn't ever have to fumble the snap. But that's digging a little too far into it for me.
Or at the end of the game, just run the routes to the back of the end zone. You would have caught that one too, but neither here nor there. Maybe that's why he blocked me.
Yeah.
Oh man, good old Patrick Creighton.
Salute to him. Hey, from a college quarterback to what he did in the NFL, man, made a ton of money and a great career. Wish he could have been a little bit better in the playoff scores there against the Giants. But hey, man, salute to Mr. Creighton.
Yeah.
Maybe he's watching it and he'll unblock you, right?
Maybe he'll unblock me now.
Oh man.
Look, honestly, I don't blame him for blocking me. I was a little late.
Hey,
it's fine.
Hey, coach, you know who's up on the block, right?
Who's that?
Old Dalton Schultz. He's coming for Nix. I'm just letting you know right now, Nix. He's coming for you.
Here's the crazy part is he hasn't blocked me yet. Of course, now I don't really say a whole lot or really jump in anything he's doing, and I kind of dig the fact like he's out here building gaming PCs and stuff like that. But I've seen like randos catch straight blocks from him, but they said nothing about him. But somehow, some way, I haven't been blocked by Dalton Schultz yet. So, but time will tell. He might hear this, and after I say,
we're clipping that.
Like,
we're clipping that. I'm putting it on the Tweeter. I'm tagging him. It's game on now. We're gonna make sure this happens.
And then I'll be blocked. Yeah, then flush me down the toilet. I'll be blocked.
Yeah.
Congratulations
your
on the
life
first time
will
you
be
blocked
over.
somebody, Dalton.
Facts.
Hey, I played D-end in,
Yeah.
I played D-end in high school. I wonder if he can block me.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, zinger.
Dang.
Oh, I mean, if we're gonna pile on the guy, let's pile on the guy. I said it a long time ago. I was not a Dalton Schultz fan. I joke he would whip my ass in real life, but that let's be real about it. Oh man. So, Rev, is there anything else you want to talk about? I'm kind of to the end of the list here of things I wanted to talk about. We've talked about a lot of things, and I did not want to go too heavy on the draft here because I know that's the coming weeks is going to be draft. So I didn't want to go too heavy on it.
Yeah.
So what else did I miss, Rev? What's out there to talk about?
No, I just want to take a moment, take a time out, and just say, how proud I am of our front office just for how they started here in free agency. Good job. It was torture last off season to sit there all the way up to, and coach, how I felt coming in that beginning of the season. I'm going, we're about to go 6-11, and McCarthy's going to get fired, and we're going to have to bring in Sean Payton and give, send a high draft pick for him. But kudos to the coaching staff, kudos to the players. They stepped up despite the lack of, and they balled out, and I think Jerry regretted that towards the end of the season when we failed in the playoffs and actually had to play some real teams. You know, that talent level showed up in a big way. But I'm just grateful that there was some type of activity, that it wasn't the same old, hey, let's just sit back and let everything come to us. You know, the exciting thing is not only did they make trades and they signed a couple of pieces, they moved some contracts around up front money to where you know that they're about to do something different. You know, whether it's long-term contracts or what it is, you know, I'm just grateful to see some action going on because you know at the end of the day their MO is bridge a couple players prior to the draft the guys that they want and just have these minimal contracts to where it doesn't affect them very much. But it almost feels like they're committing to this season coming up. It kind of feels that way. And so I just want to say, hey,
In their way.
are they doing
They're not
exactly
all
what I
in.
want?
Like they said, they're not pushing the chips in. In their way,
Not
they're trying
not
to
yet
get better.
in their way.
Yes.
But I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something. The moment that they restructured Michael Gallup and Tyrone Smith, I said, all right, they're committing. Even D Tank, they even restructured. I said, all right, they're wanting to do something, and so I don't think they're hiding it from anybody. You know, I think even OBJ or whoever out there kind of feels like they're prepping for something. But, you know, it just feels good that they're making an attempt to do something, and I hope they go ahead and get it done. Again, I'm just that a personality where it's like, man, just get it over with. Let's go. You know, if you're wanting to save a few $1,000,000, let's just get it over with. Let's get our guy. Let's get in the off season, get him over there in Dak's backyard, let him throw the football around, and let's just prep for the new year. So I just want to say kudos to them. One thing real quick, other than sports coaches, I just want to give Nick's a little bit of opportunity to talk a little bit about maybe himself or his channel and things like that. I have personally kind of been on his show there on his space there on Twitter. I don't know if you've checked it out yet, Coach, but you're talking really good content there on his space there that Nick's host, and he's got a good team over there that kind of hosts together and take turns, you know, very respectful, very open dialogue, and they're bringing up some great conversations, and I almost feel like them jokers are on every day. It almost feels like every time I open up my phone, there's Nick's, you know, hosting I don't know how many people, and I'm telling you, Coach, if you haven't had a chance, and maybe you know get some of our guys in Discord and on the chat or whoever, and get them in and get them checking out Nick's and you know, I don't know how you started all that, Nick's, but I just want to hear, if you don't mind, a little bit of your story, how you got started with all that, what's your intentions, you know, maybe your goals and dreams, those types of things.
Yeah, so once upon a time, Nick's went to college and, you know, was doing mass communications and broadcasting was a rhetoric speech, I should say. It was mass communications rhetoric speech was the major, but young kid, whatever, yada, yada, you know, the story you've heard a million times. Didn't work out for me. And, you know, got the life guide for things and just something I always wanted to do, you know, and I've done different things DJing in my life and whatnot and different things. So I guess about 8-ish or so years ago, started doing the NFL podcast, and I did that for a couple of seasons. And you know, ultimately, I'm a Cowboys guy, and I was like, man, I just really kind of want to do Cowboy stuff. And you know, I always had people, sports bars, whatever, ask me different things, and we're always talking anyway. It's like, well, just whatever, you know, kind of a hobby, you know, for the most part, and to a certain extent, because you know where I was with my business and everything else, and just kind of getting started. So I was like, all right, and originally it was Star Gang, you know, so that's why I used the Star, you know, gang of fans, whatever. And then we kind of pivoted to what's now the Pick Six Sports. So just started doing it now when I transitioned from the NFL to now this year will be our fifth season covering the Cowboys, actually. Great team of people that I've got to meet: Spoonie, Dom, Mary Ella, Camber, Professor O. And by the way, check him out on USA Today. Cowboys, USA Today, Cowboys Wire. He does some great articles over there. And if you're into analytics, go check out Professor O on Twitter, and check some of his written articles out as well. Just kind of started doing it in those realms back in 2018, 19 now, I guess. So YouTube, Pick Six Sports over that way. You can catch us on that side. And on Twitter, your _ guy _ Nix, NIX. You can follow me over that way. Literally, I wasn't even 1,000 followers back 2 years ago. Just been grinding over 5,000. Now the spaces came into it, and I was like, oh, this is interesting because I've done some sports radio before too. And I was like, wow, this is kind of a different take, because sports radio, you have the call-in line and different things, but it's so direct because the people kind of come in, you can do it. And there's requests, you can talk to them in real time. So I really dug that aspect of it as we were doing the YouTube stuff as well too. So I started developing in that realm and doing that because it was comfortable. I've done it before. It made a lot of sense to me. And it's a great way to just interact and make some good connections with people. And, I learned just as much in those spaces at times as I think I give to people as well too. And ultimately that's what you're trying to get to and whatnot. And, for me in general, just going through this process of what I've been doing. I mean, we've had Zeke's mom on the show. I've talked to Dak's brother on the back channels, and he's supposed to be coming on a show with us. Kyle Humans from DallasCowboys.com has been over there. We've had several guys from 105.3 The Fan on the show. Get to talk with them and stuff. And, something that for me,
awesome.
Never would have happened. Deal Wall, who's now, she used to cover the Cowboys. She worked in Kansas City, met up with her, got to do some things on the sideline, chop it up with some of the players and everything. So just a really unique experience as I've been doing the content side of things and making those gaps and meeting people. And, Aisha Morris, I met her and been chilling with her before she was on DallasCowboys.com, and watching her growth is fun in that realm. So just watching people and how they grow, learning stuff, meeting connects, and talking to people I thought I'd never talk to, in general, has been fun for the team that I care about and love. Now, the one thing I always tell people though, if you want to do this, it's going to change how you fan. It just does. It changes it changes how you fan. It changes how you look at things, and I've seen people come into it like, hey, and back out. Now I understand that. But the one thing I always tell people, if you're listening or you're watching anybody anywhere, you're like, man, I'd like to do that. First step is the hardest. Just go do it. Let's see where it takes you, and that's what I always tell people. If you want to do it, just go do it, man. We're in a time of life where if you got a phone, there's nothing stopping you, because I hear people, oh, I don't have enough money to get this or get that. Man, I know people with YouTube channels with over 10,000 subs that are very active in the community, and they do it strictly off of a phone. You don't need no big, huge setup, anything. It's just getting there and go, guys. So, yeah, man, it's just been a fun ride. And, I got to meet Rev and Coach. Hey, and here I am, and without this saying what I've been doing, I went and got to meet these guys and chop it up with them. So, yeah, man, it's a fun experience. And I think ultimately the goal for me is look, the Cowboys fan base is very wide and varied. And if we can just get one tick smarter, as Stephen Jones said, we need to be one tick better in this off season. If we get the fan base just one tick smarter, we've accomplished our job, guys.
Yeah.
Well, 9:30 on the dot
stuff,
here
man.
on the East Coast. Been shooting for an hour and a half. Rev, we're getting better at this, man. We're getting better at hitting this hour and a half mark, man. Nix, we were going we were shooting an hour and a half, and we go 3 hours sometimes. It was ugly at first.
oh, brother, I've done, sir. You can go on YouTube. Well, I don't know. I'm not 6 o'clock. Dude, I've done 10-hour shows. Dude, I've done spaces that are I just did a space. I did a space a couple of days ago. It was 7.5, 8 hours. Once it gets rolling and I'm in the mode, man, it just gets going.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's hard to hit that hour and a half and just, okay, we're here. Definitely. I've definitely been in there, and I'm still there. To this day, if I get rolling, things are happening, I'm like, whatever. I just get back. I'm like, well, let's just keep going.
Might as well.
Yeah.
Rev, any last words for us, man? See, as I say that, he freezes up there.
All good stuff. Love all the conversations, man. Just, again, at the end of the day, Nix, I look forward to, just future friendship, whatever. And, me and Coach, we're doing this. We're enjoy talking sports, man. We're not looking for anything as far as we've talked off the line, just conversations on the phone or whatever, and man, we could just sit here and talk for hours, just talking football, talking life. This is why it's easy. It's easy to talk football. It's easy to talk Cowboys. We could talk it all day, and we do. And so, again, just awesome, man. Great insight. Just pretty coming on the show. I was going to ask you one more question, but of course escaped me. That's what happens when you turn 40. So that's kind of how life goes. So
I know I'm over here 44 with this bad knee surgery. So I know.
Nick's Rev said, text me a little bit before the show tonight. We were talking about things to talk about tonight, and he was like, "Oh, hit Nick's with the heavy stuff, the heavy Cowboy stuff." He talks about it every day, and I was super excited. And you lived up to the hype, man. As a guy that talks Cowboys and football, period, there's like levels that you can talk to people about stuff. Like sometimes you got to keep it kind of on that top level so everybody can kind of enjoy the conversation, right? And then sometimes you can talk about Dalton Schultz not being able to block with somebody, and really dive into stuff. So I appreciate that, man. Awesome show. I had a blast tonight, man. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Anytime, guys. You need me? Like I tell everybody, you need me? Man, just give me a holler. I ain't too far. I'm just right around the corner.
Absolutely. Rev,
good deal.
Nix,
good deal,
thank
man.
you guys. Have a great night. And one last thing that I need you guys to remember before I sign off, because here in about 12 minutes, they're going to tip off. Roll Tide, guys. Good night.
Now I know how the show ended quick enough. Now I know how we hit the hour and a half.
Yeah.
We made sure we were out of here for the Alabama game.
Yeah, now I get it. There's the work.
Good night, guys. See ya.